Ever wondered how people survived the brutal winters of the Middle Ages without central heating, electricity, or even glass in their windows? It sounds impossible, right? You'd think their homes would be freezing, drafty caves. But what if I told you that medieval builders had a secret? A genius design philosophy that allowed their homes to stay warm for days on end, even after the fire went out. It's a forgotten technology, an architectural marvel hidden in plain sight. And it's far more sophisticated than you could ever imagine. Forget what you think you know about dark, damp castles. The real story is about thermal batteries, ancient engineering, and a deep understanding of physics that we've almost completely forgotten. Let's travel back in time. Picture a typical medieval peasant's home, often called a cruck house. It's small, probably just one room, with walls made of wattle, and daub that as a lattice of woven wood strips covered in a mix of clay, sand, and straw. The roof is thick thatch, maybe a foot deep. There are no large picture windows, just small openings covered by wooden shutters or oiled cloth. And right in the center of this room is the heart of the home, the hearth. A simple, open fire pit on the floor. Now, your first thought is probably about the smoke. Where did it go? Well, it just went up. There was often a hole in the roof, or the smoke would filter out through the thatch. It sounds inefficient and smoky, and it was. But the smoke was actually a feature, not a bug. It helped preserve the thatched roof and kept insects away. But the real magic isn't just the fire itself, it's everything around it. Look at those walls again. That wattle and daub isn't just a primitive building material. It's a key part of the heating system. The thick, dense mixture of clay and earth has a very high thermal mass. What does that mean? It means it's fantastic at absorbing and storing heat. All day long, as the central hearth burns, it's not just heating the air in the room. It's radiating heat in all directions, and those thick earthen walls are soaking it up like a sponge. The floor, too often made of packed earth or stone flags, is doing the same thing. The entire structure of the house is slowly, steadily being charged with thermal energy. This is the principle of a thermal battery. You're not just heating the space. You're heating the building itself. The fire might be banked down at night to save fuel and reduce risk, but the heat isn't gone. The walls, the floor, the very fabric of the house now begin to slowly radiate that stored warmth back into the room. This process would continue for hours, sometimes for days, creating a stable, livable temperature long after the flames had died down. It's a slow-release heating system, and it was incredibly effective. This is why small windows were crucial. Large glass windows, which didn't become common until much later, are terrible for insulation. They leak heat like a sieve. The small shuttered openings of a medieval home were designed to minimize heat loss, keeping all that precious, stored warmth inside. Now let's scale up to a stone castle. You might think these would be even colder. All that stone must be freezing. And you're right, stone is cold to the touch. But it has an even higher thermal mass than wattle and daub. The sheer thickness of a castle wall, we're talking several feet thick, made it an enormous heat sink. The great halls of castles had massive fireplaces, some large enough to roast an entire ox. These weren't just for show. They were industrial-scale engines designed to pour heat into the stone. It would take days of continuous fire to fully warm up the walls of a great hall. But once they were warm, they would stay warm. They would radiate a gentle, even heat, making the space surprisingly comfortable. And the designers used other tricks. Tapestries weren't just for decoration. Hanging thick, heavy tapestries on the cold stone walls added a crucial layer of insulation. It trapped a layer of air between the fabric and the stone, preventing the cold from radiating directly into the room and stopping drafts. It was like wrapping the room in a giant blanket. The floors would be covered with rushes or straw, not just for comfort, but for insulation from the cold ground below. Even the layout of the castle was strategic. The most important rooms, the Lord and Lady's chambers, were often located directly above the Great Hall or the kitchens, allowing the rising heat to warm their floors from below. It was a passive heating system, cleverly integrated into the castle's very structure. Think about the central keep of a castle. The ground floor was often used for storage, cold, dark, and secure. The main living area, the Great Hall, was on the floor above. The private chambers were on the floor above that. Heat rises. The constant activity, the cooking fires, the Great Hall's fireplace, all of this heat would travel upwards, warming the upper floors where people spent most of their private time. The thick stone floors would absorb this heat and radiate it into the rooms above. It's a concept we're rediscovering today with underfloor heating, but medieval builders understood it intuitively. Another genius element was the fireplace and chimney design, once they became more common in later medieval buildings. The chimney flue itself, a massive column of stone or brick running up through the house, would get incredibly hot. This entire column would then act as a giant radiator, warming every room it passed through. This is why you often see multiple fireplaces backing onto the same chimney stack in larger manor houses. It's a way of centralizing the heat source and using its waste heat to warm the entire core of the building. So why don't we build like this anymore? Well, our priorities changed. How? With the advent of cheap, abundant fuel like coal, and later gas and electricity, we stopped needing our buildings to be so thermally efficient. We could just pump more heat into them. We started valuing big windows and thin walls for faster, cheaper construction. We essentially traded the passive, slow-release heating of thermal mass for the instant, on-demand heat of modern systems. We built leaky glass boxes and then invented powerful machines to counteract the flaws in their design. But there's a growing movement to bring these ancient ideas back. Architects and green builders are looking at the principles of thermal mass, passive solar design, and high insulation that were perfected by medieval builders. They're using modern materials like concrete, rammed earth, and advanced insulation to recreate these thermal batteries. A modern home designed with high thermal mass can stay cool in the summer by absorbing heat during the day and releasing it at night, and stay warm in the winter by soaking up sunshine or heat from a small wood stove and radiating it back all night long. What the medieval peasant knew out of necessity, we are now rediscovering as a path to a more sustainable future. Their homes weren't just primitive shelters. They were finely tuned environmental machines designed to work with nature, not against it. They stored energy, minimized waste, and created a comfortable environment with minimal resources. It's a powerful lesson from the past. The secret to surviving a medieval winter wasn't just a bigger fire. It was a smarter house. It proves that sometimes the most advanced technology isn't a new invention, but a forgotten wisdom waiting to be rediscovered. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this journey back in time as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.